everybody. I don't think a whole lot of people are going to be joining us, and thank you for your understanding that I had to reschedule last night. With that earthquake situation and everything that was going on, I was just really, really, really tired. And I would have done a crap job, and it was a good thing I did that because I've been up since 4 a.m. I'm sure most of you, excuse me, have probably already seen my update about the solar weather, the earthquakes, the Schumann resonance, and how it was blacked out for a period of time. What I'm going to talk to you about is that, and how this is part of the Schumann activation windows that I've been seeing. Let's see. I'm just looking for dates when this happened last time because I know it did. But I get so many videos and this happens so often it's hard to keep track sometimes. I'm working on a better database, but we just had a blackout. And then, let's see. Going back a bit in the week, I should be able to find where it happened last time. Scrolling through my feed. There we go. Okay. So this was details. All right. January 5th. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okie doke. So what we had was two big Schumann resonance blackouts on the Schumann monitoring from Tomsk. I think I will do a screen share and go get the Schumann resonance up on the computer so that I can show you that and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, share screen, that window. All right, so you should be seeing the Schumann resonance now. As you can see, there was this 30-hour, 30-hour window of time where the Schumann resonance monitoring was off. The Marconi antenna in Italy is not showing the spiking, but I know it's happening. I can't explain how I know or why I know, but I know all of you feel it as well. But what I have observed is this. We get these portal downloads. So around January 34th, we started getting the intense 7D download. And when that started coming in, there was another long break in the Schumann monitoring as well. So what I'm seeing is that these downloads come in, and then when the back to me again, these downloads come in, the massive downloads that are energies coming in for everybody. They are the major upgrades that everybody's been talking about for quite a while. Some of you are probably getting some 8th dimensional frequency. Truth be told, once you get to the point where you're kind of multidimensionally expanded more, it starts mattering less. But for purposes of where everybody's understanding is at now, 7D is unconditional love. So the whole world is getting a huge influx of that to help us be able to hold that frequency. Those who on Earth who can't already do that. There are obviously some of us like me and a lot of others who either came in that way, comes naturally for them, they've cultivated it, they've worked on that. But this just gives us that major download into the crystalline grid so that it is available to everyone. But here's the thing, though. So when you're closing the portal, as we just did, what happens is all of that frequency, that unconditional love frequency, that is the energy, as most of my patrons know, except for maybe some of my new patrons. And welcome, Kathy. I think I welcomed Corey last time. We've been getting so many new people, and I'm very excited to have you here. Thank you for being here. We're getting ready to add more, change structure a little, make it a little more exciting than it already is for all of you. So I really appreciate that you're all here. So when that 7D unconditional love frequency comes in, what happens is that it's the same energy that I work with the consciousness anchoring, with the grid work, with the expansion of my consciousness. That frequency transmutes anything that isn't of the highest good. It transmutes density. It transmutes, things that aren't, I'm choosing my words carefully because I don't want to make it a hierarchy, because it's not. All that exists is necessary to some degree. But what that does is it brings up anything in you for healing, right? Anything that you need to release or let go of or get out of your system, whether it's your physical body, your emotional body, your etheric body, your energy body, your big Titan size, all of that stuff bubbles up to the surface so that we can release it. And, just a physical side effect of the Schumann resonance for everybody when it's really high like that is an activation of the fight or flight system and the limbic system, which affects all of the other things, right? So, over the last 24 hours, I got so many people reaching out to me who were having wild experiences, both metaphysical and in their material reality. A lot of people are anxious and having things come up that they thought they worked out or they thought had long passed or maybe didn't even know was there. So it's kind of hard to decipher because there are two things that are going on right now. Well, technically three things, I guess. So we have the Schumann resonance elevated, triggering that fight or flight and limbic system. So it's stimulating your nervous system, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, only if you don't know how to work with your nervous system and control that and understand that the feeling of anxiety or the feeling of depression or whatever is happening to you from that physical aspect is not a mental thing. It's just a physical reaction. And so what happens if we're not aware of that is that we're like, oh gosh, I'm so anxious. And, and then the more you're trying to assign it to something, the more anxious you get because you're frustrated and feel like you have done something that doesn't work, right? So it's helpful to be able to recognize that, first of all. That's one thing that's going on. The second thing that's going on is that unconditional love coming in, right? Which is bringing up things that you personally may need to heal or take a look at. I'll explain what my experience of that was in a minute so that you have an idea. Because at all levels, like it doesn't matter. Serafina did this great podcast recently where she talked about the 5 levels or 5 lanes, really, 5 types of people for this year. There are the rocks, who are those who are just, stable and content to be in the 3D reality, provide stability and all of that for the others. Then you have your refusers and resistors. These are people who are fighting any change and not going with the flow and maybe you're about to be aware of a little bit higher consciousness, but aren't, like they're fighting that process, and they're fighting everything happening in the world that is supposed to bring in change and progress, including within themselves. And then there's a middle one, I can't remember what she called it, but they're like, oh yes, the curious. These are the people who aren't awake, but they're like being attracted to meditation and other concepts that they haven't really looked at before. And then you have your aware, which is people who are, awake but haven't quite fully stepped into their power. They're not fully embodying their light. They're not fully expanded yet. And then you have the last category, which is the fully awake, fully expanded people. So all of these people are having different experiences of this 7D download, and also of this healing, that's this stuff that's coming up being to be healed. The more aware you are, probably the less tumultuous this is for you right now, because you aren't clueless as to what's happening. I think about the people who are the rocks and who are the curious, who maybe don't know anything yet and are like, what is happening to me? Why do I feel this way? Why am I feeling so emotional? Why am I giddy? Why do I have all these things coming up for me? Then there's a third thing happening. And again, all things have a right to exist. Creation is as it is for a reason. My first guest, probably not a big surprise on the Patreon, this will be put up probably, we're going to try to get together in the next week, because this is going on right now. Mercury is going to go retrograde Friday. There's a full moon coming. So the more information we can get out right now, the better. She would prefer to talk about this stuff behind a paywall, and so would I, because neither one of us even want to talk about this stuff. The more aware and dimensionally expanded you are, the more your thoughts, your words, what you give your attention to, brings things into being. It brings things into our present reality. It adds to the co-creation, right? So neither one of us want to be talking about these things out there in the general public. But one of my students, let's call him a student, he reached out to me and had a very traumatic metaphysical experience with what can only be called the hell realms. Now, whether or not you believe in hell, if you believe in all things existing and this and that, if we have this, harmonious, loving, beautiful, resonant planet or dimension or reality over here, then you're going to have this extremely awful, by our standards, one. I mean, I'm sure whoever's running the show there is pretty content with that, because they are in that density. They are that density. They embody that. That's how they, that's their existence, right? So when this influx of 7D energy is coming into the planet, the third thing that is happening is that density, that hell realm energy, that dark energy, is fighting to keep a foothold. Now, I'm not getting into the territory of spiritual warfare, dark versus light, or any of that necessarily. However, some of us who carry that expanded energy or certain abilities, certain awarenesses, are part of the team that is helping to combat that effort. right? So it's really all just about energy. I mean, you can characterize it as different things, but it's really all about energy. So we have this frequency over here, which makes it so that this frequency over here cannot exist uh, on Earth anymore. And the more this grows, the more this disappears, right? So during these shifts, when everybody's stuff is being come up and being brought to the surface, and the Schumann resonance is triggering all of the fight or flight and everything, that is an opportunity for this energy to get a foothold, right? That frequency. So what it does is it comes in and it's like, hey, you know that thing you used to worry about all the time and obsess about? Yeah, let's think about that. Let's really dig into that and get down in the dirt. And so it's like trying to give you a false scenario, create a false worry, false regression maybe in things that you think you healed. So it's very important to be aware, is this thing coming up for me? Something that, yeah, I probably need to release more and heal more. This is new stuff that's coming up to me, or it's things that I haven't really taken a look at before. And then, you know, let it flow through you. Release it from yourself and the collective. Give it back to Gaia and Source, and let that energy be transmuted. You don't need to hold that anymore. If it is the other version, which is, you know, this is so weird that I'm having these thoughts, or I haven't felt like this in, you know, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Those are those little cracks in your armor, so to speak, that this oozing dense energy, this dense frequency that wants to remain and have a foothold on this planet, tries to get in through. So my student that contacted me, I mean, it was very difficult. And part of the reason Serafina agreed to come on here and talk about her personal experiences with the Hell Realms, because she is someone who is able to visit those places when necessary to retrieve things for clients, but it's not something that she's done for many, many, many years. The only reason she did it, from my understanding, is that her Reiki teacher was asking her to because she could. And she really doesn't like talking about it, doing it, having anything to do with it. Kind of like me with like, yeah, I once had to deal with a demon, and now I did, and I don't ever want to do it again. Sorry about that weird sound. Windows decided that I needed to deal with my virus protection right now. So that's why she's going to come on and talk about this, because I think my student is one of those who also has that ability, and people with that ability are being asked to help do, you know, macro clearing. Really honestly doing battle with this frequency, and being a conduit for processing all of this. Now, I'm going to try to help him with consciousness anchoring and a few other things to hopefully have better armor, you know, have that love frequency so that he has more control in this experience. And I know that Serafina's wealth of knowledge about this is really going to help. Because it always does. She is so brilliant. Because his experience of it was like, I am in this other reality and I can't, like, open eyes, closed eyes. It's like you're in a completely different reality. And when he told me that, I understood what he meant, because I had a spiritual possession one time. It's the best way I can describe it, I guess, but it wasn't really like a soul or a person. It was like an imprint of a memory. Back when one of my friends, like I have multiple murdered friends. I had a friend that was murdered in 2007. And we thought she was missing, so we were searching for her. I found some of her stuff on the roadside in the median. I'm standing in the median, and as soon as I found it, it was like what happened to her just flew into me, and I couldn't see anything but what I was viscerally experiencing. Like, I was her. I was in the backseat of her car being driven around by these men who were making her throw her shit out the window. And it was terrifying because I couldn't get out of it. And after that experience, I went, yeah, universe, guides, whatever, you can take your psychic abilities and your bullshit and shove it straight up your ass, because what good is this going to do me other than now I know she's dead and nobody else does. And so I know what that feels like, to be trapped in an altered state and not be able to bring yourself back by just opening your eyes, you know. And it's a very vulnerable feeling. And if it's happening in a way where whatever you're seeing is bad, that makes it even worse, you know. I don't think it would be so bad if, like, I was suddenly having an experience of, like, being at Disneyland and getting to go on all the rides with no lines and have, what are those called? I can't even remember right now. You know, the waffle things at the fair that are, like, deep fried and horrible for you. At any rate, you know, it would be fine if that's how it worked, but that's not how it works. Let's see. Hell Realms. It's getting good tonight. Okay, so how the, hey, we're going to mess with anything that is a weakness at all in your mind in any way to see if we can get a foothold in there. Yesterday, I recently finally had my in-person meeting with someone I care about very much, and I'm 100% sure, my future. So he went back home on Sunday night, and then we have a very strong energy connection, which I will explain a little bit here in a minute. But he's very psychic, and so am I, obviously. I mean, who am I? But so we feel each other. Like, I'll be upset about something or crying, and he'll call me before and just ask me what's wrong, or vice versa. So yesterday I could tell he was not doing great, and he sent me a text and let me know that he got some disturbing news, and he would tell me later. And then I was like, yeah, I felt something. And he asked me what I felt, and I told him it was just like really, really muddy, unhappy energy. And I knew it was something to do with his job because, again, I usually know, but I don't always want to, it's like I don't always want to ruin somebody's surprise by always saying, oh yeah, I know exactly what's going on with you. Don't bother telling me, and having, you know, your human need met by me being supportive in a normal way. So I have to remember sometimes to just be human and not this conduit of information with people. But what that did, though, so many times in my past romantic history and also in my marriage, lots of love bombing and broken promises, and you know, people over promising and under delivering, you know what I mean? Not being who they said they would, or like, we have a lovely experience and then they start like, yeah, I'm just gonna go off into ghost land, and suddenly change direction on you. So that little thing about the news and the not knowing what it was and everything, that was like the perfect feeding ground for any old insecurities or doubts or worries about my own discernment that, well, here it is. The other shoe is dropping, and I really had to talk myself down off of that ledge. Everything was fine. And it was actually a really wonderful experience for me because I was able to see, oh, okay, I'm releasing these programs very easily. I have healed this within myself enough where I'm able to be aware of it and not react by sending him a bunch of codependent bullshit texts. I don't care what the hell is going on. You need to tell me now what disturbing news means because I cannot self-soothe long enough for you to get through your day without me knowing what's happening. So, I guess that's as good a place to go with connection, right? I know everybody talks about having connections, and I mean, if you care for someone, you love someone, you're attracted to someone, you're friends with someone, obviously there's a connection. But this was like nothing I've experienced with another human being. It was very strong apart from each other, which is why we were so excited to meet each other, and why I was allowing myself to be more vulnerable with him than I probably would ordinarily. And when he got here and we were in proximity with each other, it's like our molecular structure, our bodies vibrate. It's like our atoms, our molecules are excited. And at first, like once we started observing this, sometimes we would have to just sort of like lay down on the bed, staring at the ceiling, holding hands, going, do you feel that? Yeah, I don't know. I've never felt, because I'm the expert in this dynamic because he's very open and he's very psychic, but he's never had anyone to talk to about it. So he is having his awakening. He's having his divine masculine happening. And although I'm pretty sure he's had it most of his life because he's a real sweetheart, but so he's having all of that come up and then experiencing this completely wild thing with me, which lasts once they leave, by the way. Like once you find someone that you have that sort of energetic compatibility and connection with, it seems to just stay. So we've both been getting used to that feeling. But it's really amazing, you guys and you folks. And if I had known, I mean, I still had to live my life and everything, but if there's one thing I could tell people who are younger than me or who are in transition and do not have a partner at this time, or have done a lot of work on themselves, and maybe they're even thinking, yeah, I don't know because you all know, I declared to the universe in October I don't need a man, and then the next thing I know, I was on a dating app finding this wonderful person and a whole lot of frogs. I kissed some frogs for sure. But this, like that old saying about, well, when they're the one, like this sort of a thing, you really know. Like there's just no question. And perhaps part of it is because he and I both are in our 40s, 50s, and I mean, I'm still a cougar, Andrea Land, accidental cougar. They DM'd me first, although I actually DM'd him first on the app. But at any rate, this does exist, and it's going to become more and more common. And so if you have a love that you have dreamed of, and you know in your heart like what is going to be good for you and make you happy, go for that. Look for that, find that, accept nothing less than that. This is not about being picky. This is about knowing yourself, knowing what you want, who you want to be with, and who you want to be with is someone who really does just love everything about you. Literally everything. You know, from the way you pick your nose to the way you look when you wake up in the morning to the music you listen to, all of those things matter and count. And it is possible to find someone that doesn't need to change you and that you don't need to change them. And you can just be together securely and be 100% your authentic selves. It can feel, and part of how you get there, I think, is by losing the desperation to find someone. By getting to that point where you are content and secure within yourself, that you don't need someone else to complete you or make you whole. So that's my TED Talk about romantic connections for now. And I'm sure at some point he and I will be sharing this story in various ways. God, he has a yummy voice. Very deep voice. Vibrating atoms. And I've heard other people talking about different energies making them feel that way, that it just feels like their molecules, their body is vibrating. Let's see, where do I go from here? So, since everyone seems to be having a bit of difficulty, and I had been asked in December to share in some form how to calm your nervous system, just in general for mental health, PTSD, not even taking into account the metaphysical aspect of that. So Friday, I'll be doing a free thing that's just open to the public, and doing a 20-minute brief talk about tools to calm the nervous system. Quick 20-minute mini anchoring. This is something that came in this weekend, which I'll explain in a minute, but this is like a very surface level, just enough to give people that connection to the earth, that energy flow, and that ability to center, because things are going to be bananas for the next month, probably, with Mercury in retrograde, I would imagine. Also with the pandemic. I'm not going to lecture anyone about vaccines or being careful or anything else, but I mean, almost every business in town where I live has 30% absentee rate right now, because that's how much of their staff is sick. So that's going to cause a bunch of stuff, delays, limited access to some things, on top of everything that's already going on. So it will be helpful for everybody to have some centering ability and some unconditional love being showered upon them. So I will be doing that this coming Friday, and you'll see it posted. I'll probably post it in the group too, just so you know about it in case you want to come. Yeah, and that will be free, because what happened is I had a colleague of mine who I will probably ask as another guest to come in and talk to the Patreon about our experience together. I knew I needed to ask someone to be like a witness, a conduit. Mo is here, a witness, a conduit, and hey, sweetie. To be a witness and conduit for my own anchoring. I felt like there was more to be done, and I hadn't really had that experience. Hi there. Hey. Let's see.
Is it just me?
Speaker. No, it's me. Gallery. There we go.
No, I mean, is it just me and you in the meeting?
Oh, it's just you and me. Yeah, but I'm recording, so I'm in the middle of something. So what happened when I did this anchoring of me with this other person is I was taken to a new place. I'm just going to call it right now an interdimensional reality, because it's a lot to explain right now. But this is a leveling up for me, just like everybody else is having a leveling up. And because of that, because of what they, what the guide teams and everyone did and what happened with me and the other person, I can work with some groups now. That will only give people access to that love energy, that love frequency, and some centering. I can't take 20 people all at once into the Nemesis library and give them their book. It's much more personalized when we're doing it from that aspect. But I have been given the permission and the energy necessary to be able to do that. So the experience I had is allowing me to do that. And so that's why I'm going to do the mini thing for free for people on Friday, since everyone's losing their mind with all these energies coming in. And I think it'll help people get through Mercury a little more quietly and just give people an idea how to calm their nervous system. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh, I decided I really want the $5 tier to have access to the Monday meetings. So I'm going to restructure things a little bit. And so it will give the $10 and $20 tier an extra something, but give the $5 tier more access to the weekly meetings, because I feel like they're really important right now. And I want to be able to give that to everybody who's in the Patreon. So effective now, over this next week, I'll start giving the $5 tier access to the weekly meetings, also the Monday meetings only. The workshops will still be only for the all access and the VIPs. And then I'm going to make the guest appearances, like Serafina coming in to do a live with us, and future guests, those will be like an added perk for the $10 and $20 tier. So that way the $5 tier is getting a little more value and a little more of this information, because I really love the people on the $5 tier and I want everybody to have access to as much as they can get. So I wasn't really going to like pull cards collectively. I was just going to pull cards for whoever was here. Trying to think. I don't think anyone else left me any questions or notes for Q&A. Saturday morning is the Pleasure and Sensuality workshop. I will open that up to anyone who's not a patron that wants to pay to come to the workshop. But I will have a lot of new stuff to say about that. Grooving Goddess spent the weekend grooving. So I'm pretty sure that I have a much wider perspective of all of that. It was the first time that I've been with anyone since all this multidimensional expansion stuff, and it is the first time I have been with anyone who I had that sort of free-flowing energy with, who knows me like they've known me for a million years. And it's quite a different experience. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think with that, I'm going to stop the recording so that I can pull some cards for Mo and chat with her since she's here. Anyone who missed the meeting, thank you so much for putting up with any time I need to adjust my schedule. I know everyone does it. I think I'm just extra sensitive to it because of being, someone who deals with illness my whole life and has to reschedule a lot. Oh, and that reminds me, I did a ridiculously long episode with Sarah Forney on Supernatural Sarah, which tells the whole entire, literally 0 to now health journey that I have had, because I have miraculously healed over and over again throughout my life. And to fully grasp how much of a miracle it is that I'm doing so well now that I have figured out how the planetary affects my body, how the solar weather affects my body, and how to channel that energy through me instead of it being like an empty or full vessel all the time. That is what has caused all the physical changes that I've had over the last year, among other things, and that I'm so much stronger. So I think it will maybe inspire anyone who's struggling with mental or physical health in any way and feels like they need hope, because the more you have this energy flowing through you and the more you continue to practice expanding out that love bubble, that love sphere, the more your body and your mind will heal. They just do. It's sort of a natural byproduct that I've seen, and I'm excited for that to happen for everybody else. So I will now stop the recording, and thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you either Friday night and or Saturday morning to talk about the nervous system and pleasure and sensuality and sex magic.